Welcome to Fighting Words. Mike Straka, along with Mike MadLab Urata, Shannon Knapp, CEO, founder, president of Invicta FC. Shannon, big weekend for women's MMA. Amanda Nunes retires. Dana White says he's going to shut down that division. What does that mean for MMA in general? Not just women's MMA, but MMA.
I think anytime somebody says we're going to shut down a division, and especially such a big company like the UFC, I think it sends shockwaves across. But I think for a company like mine, it just means we got to get busy and create more depth in those divisions that are not plentiful at this time. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, right, you've got Chris Cyborg that's in Bellator, heading that division. You've got PFL dabbling around in it. You've got me that's always building it, to create depth. So I don't think it's going to be a loss, outside of the UFC, but for the UFC itself, of course, I think it will be a loss.
Are you a little shocked about how Aldana approached that fight?
I know both of them very well. I mean, I worked with Amanda clear back when I was matchmaking at Strikeforce. So, I know what she's capable of, and I've watched her career come along through, the ranks. And then you've got Aldana that fought here as well. Yes and no. I mean, does it pay to be cautious when you're up against someone with pedigree and, the abilities and capabilities that Amanda has? Absolutely. But you get that one chance to go in and get what you want. And I always say, even if I'm looking at something on paper, maybe an athlete on paper, that athlete looks like they're going to win. They're going to walk through this and they're going to win. I always have to look over at the opponent that we're matching and saying, what's on the line? Because the one that wants it the most is the one that's probably going to win that fight. It's just the way it is. You got to have that heart and that's kind of the way I saw this fight.
I think Invicta proved Dana wrong. I remember Dana in a very beginning of the women's mixed martial arts divisions, he said that there's not enough depth. There's not enough depth in women's MMA to sustain 3 or 4 divisions. I think we're seeing a little bit of that now as far as the UFC is concerned, but I think Invicta has proved that there is depth. And, I hate to even say this because you might even take offense to it, but it's almost like, you've been feeding the leagues pretty well. I mean, I don't think that Invicta is a feeder league, but it certainly is something that it's looked at that way. It's looked at that way. How do you feel about those statements?
I get it. I hear it, and I understand it. My goal when I first came into the space was I identified that it wasn't a lack of depth. What it was is nobody wanted to take the risk. Nobody wanted to roll up their sleeves, get in there, do the dirty work, organize, and build a platform where these women, you could really align that depth. So I do get it and I understand it. And I've been lobbying forever and sharing talent that I build with these other organizations to make sure that everybody else gets it, because I need people to continue to, let these women compete so that we can kind of share that with the world and and that's how I kind of look at it. However, I hope that, Invicta is going to move into this position that we can be very competitive. And, that's always my goal is to continue to build a platform when given the choice that I can match some opportunities and that those athletes will want to stay here. So if that's what people prefer to call us, I look at it differently. We're the innovators, the ones that are breaking down the barriers, creating and building these legends. That's what we do here. We don't feed anyone. We build champions.
Well, I got to agree, Mike, and we talk about this all the time. Like we just had a conversation this week about pioneers. And it was about the Hall of Fame. There was a big controversy about Jim Miller being in or Jim Miller not being in. And we're talking about how he's a pioneer. Some people don't agree. And when I look at your career, this is why I was so excited to talk to you, because you're a very unique person. You tend to, if you really think about MMA, it's not that old. It's really not that old. It's very, very new. And it continues to transcend. But you seem to go against the streamline sometime, and you always hit the nail on the head. Dana White comes out a long time ago. He says he'll never have female MMA. You come out, you open up a promotion, just female MMA. Now, for me, I rip film all the time. I'm breaking down these fighters. Every time I go onto a resume and I see a girl fought in Invicta, that's right away credibility for me. So it's like, even with the open scoring, like, we always have these problems with judges and stuff like that. And here you come out with open. By the way, congratulations on the Hall of Fame in 2000 last year.
Thank you.
International Sports Hall of Fame. Well deserved, but you're always trying new things. Even with Phoenix Rising, it seems like you take these elements of old school and new school, mix them into one, and see what happens. And you just continue to trailblaze and pioneer. So I do agree with you. Like, I don't look at Invicta as a feeder league. I look at them as the gold standard for female MMA.
Thank you. I mean, those are very, very kind words. I think you have to be innovative. And I think that if you're someone like me that is a huge advocate for the athlete and the sport itself, instead of lining my pockets, I'm always going to make sure that I'm going to go, down the avenue that's going to create a better space for the athlete, and for me, like the open scoring was all about giving them more tools in their arsenal to be successful. I mean, if you have a loss to a record when you get in the pros, that counts, and it's money out of your pocket. So if I can give them a tool that helps them be more successful, why wouldn't I do it? That's just kind of the way I look at it. And, I think you have to be innovative, whether it's MMA, I'm going to throw my hat into the boxing,
I did hear that. I did hear that.
Yeah. And I think that you've got to come out the gate and you've got to be different, not too different that you shut down the old school, but, you still want them to embrace, but you have to be different enough that makes people stop and think, and I think that's important.
What is your thoughts now that you had your hands in both of them? What is your thoughts on the open scoring opposed to the scoring that they're currently using?
The truth is I don't think it's ever about me and what I think. I only can go on what my athletes have said and the response that I get from coaches, athletes. They love it. I mean, it makes a difference. I listen and I hear all the negative, why we would never do this, why it's bad. The only thing is that I don't see that. And I'm somebody that's testing it. We've been doing it for several years now, and I'm not seeing all what the naysayers have to say. One of the things that was super important to me when we did do it is that I never took away the right for the athlete to decide if they want to know that score or not. So we put a system in that, the coach sees it. If that athlete wants to know, their coach passes it along. But if they don't, then, it's not taken, that right's not taken away. We just haven't had people stalling out. It's actually pushed the action. We haven't had anybody that's just like, oh, I'm losing, I'm not going to do anything. Or somebody that runs, I got to say, these women come to fight. Now, they've been working to get there. And, back also to your part about the pedigrees and things. Yeah, you may not get an easy fight here at Invicta, but one thing I will tell you're going to get is you're going to get the experience and everything that it's going to take to make you a champion. We don't care what you look like. We don't care if you're out there on the internet showing you, we don't care. What I care about is, do you have the talent? And that's what we're here for. And I think that's what people should want to see is talent.
Well, speaking of talent, Amanda Nunes has been the GOAT, and now that she's retired, do you think that it's even early, that there's enough time to even have a GOAT in women's MMA?
Yes, I do. But what I do think is people better get on the ball. I'm looking over at some of the divisions, and I'm not seeing as many female fights that are on these cards and stuff in the rotations. If you want to have these women that succeed and excel, you got to keep them busy. So that's the thing that I look over and I see right now is they've got a little bit of catching up to do. And it's no secret, everybody knows it. Little girls don't grow up every day wanting to be punched in the face. We have to keep cultivating those, female athletes that want to come over and transition into the sport. And I think that it's really important that we make space for them. Yes, the males still do sell the tickets. I can't go to any town and fill up my card with local athletes. It's just not going to happen. Where on the male side, there's so many more male athletes. So I think that, just creating more space for them, you got to build those divisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to because I really want to get your take on this. I want to go back to the scoring for 1 second. Sure. And one of the debates that it seems like we always have it when whether it's Invicta, whether it's whatever it is, people are tending to call for robot judging now. Now, for me, I think it's something that just cannot happen. And here's my take. And if I'm wrong, I ask a lot of people their opinion on this. I feel like with robot judging, it takes away the human element. I feel like you need human eyes to see human interactions. You need to see the damage being done. You need to see that human element that just a robot can't see. A robot is doing numbers. It's doing significant strikes, takedowns, and control time, but it's not actually seeing the fight. Sometimes numbers don't tell the story of the fight, and I think that the robot judging will take that away. So I would love for someone like you who just innovates all these things, tries all these new things. What do you think about that, and what's your thoughts?
That's probably not an avenue that I would venture down. One, because strikes are strikes, but what about the impact of that strike or what you're seeing? I think that I think there has to be that human element, even though it's faulted in many ways in those decisions that we get. That's why we put something like an open scoring play. So if an athlete knows they're down, they know they've got to step it up, whether that means you've got to more takedowns, whatever that means to them, you've got to step it up. It gives them more control. But I don't like, that proposal of the robot judging. I mean, I don't think that's going to make it better. I think you're going to have more complaints on that end because I think there's more to the story than just numbers, Exactly. That's, my take on it.
I agree. Mike, I think you're muted.
Mike, do you have an opinion?
Looks like I'm going to edit that. I'm going to have to edit this. Mike, you muted?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. Sorry about that. So how did you feel about Pena's reaction to Amanda's retirement announcement?
I read some of it and I just, I'm going to have to disagree, to be kind and I will just say I disagree. I mean, I've known Amanda for a long time. I will never forget her fight against Julia Budd in Strikeforce. That's the first time I really identified that this kid's got it. She's just got to learn to put it together, but she's got it. She hits hard. I always say that she changed Julia Budd's game from that day forward. Julia Budd was a striker, and then from that day forward, Julia Budd became a wrestler, in my opinion, So for me, when someone says that she's not the real champ or she doesn't deserve this, once she moved to America, changed gyms and really added, started working with, multiple disciplines and really beefing up her game and stuff like that, that's when she became what she is today. And I think you cannot take that away from her. I mean, I just would have to agree to completely disagree with her in that regard. Yeah.
I was pretty shocked by that.
To her, but you don't have a pedigree like Amanda's and beat the females that you've beat in the different divisions. When you get to that point, then I will entertain that.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I think a lot of the talk that we hear is inspired by, the Chael Sonnen and Conor McGregor.
Smack talk, and sensationalism.
Yes, and people know that stuff actually gets you a payday. Unfortunately, sometimes it reads as poor sportsmanship. And sometimes I think that athletes don't really mean to be disrespectful. I think they're just thinking, all right, I've got to do something to get noticed. And not that Juliana needs to get noticed, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, certainly her opportunity to solidify that she took out, the GOAT in that division or, all time, it did walk away from her, but let's remember that fight was ready to go. So she didn't, it's not like Amanda ran from it. It's not like Amanda, and God bless Amanda, whatever she wants to do. If she's ready to be at home and, live her life in a different way, then I think that's amazing. She deserves that opportunity. She's given us the entertainment.
Certainly.
We can't beat these kids down, and just keep pulling from them constantly when it's, when they're done, let's let them be done,
So as the, with you trying new things all the time, would you ever say that there would be a world where you would have maybe, and I don't think he would do this because God forbid he loses, but the Invicta champions versus the UFC champions one night tournament?
Of course. I mean, yeah, as long as we're taking all mine and I can assemble a real team over here, as long as I'm at my healthiest over here, let's say it like that.
Yeah.
My divisions are healthy. Yeah. I mean,
have you thought about that? Have you tinkered around with that?
Truth is it's never going to happen, but would I? Sure. any of the promotions, like I said, if we're healthy and my divisions have not been messed with and I had a minute to build them up where they should be, absolutely.
All right.
Hands down.
That'd be interesting.
I mean, I
Shannon
gotta
Knapp.
believe in them. I mean, if
Of
I don't believe in them,
course.
who's going
And
to,
I think
right?
it'd be great. think it'd be great for female MMA too.
Yeah. Well, I've got a few more tricks up my sleeve. I'm not done.
I'll tell you one thing. I love Erin Blanchfield. That's my hometown girl.
Right.
She's
Yeah, they say they didn't
she's-
see it coming. And I'm like, I did. That's why she was
me
here.
too.
You
She's from my hometown. It was a 2 square mile town. So I know
Oh,
her.
really?
Yeah, I know about her for a long time. And I was telling everybody when she was coming up, she's quiet, but watch this girl. This girl is really
Yeah.
good. Carl Pravic.
Yeah,
very, very
Fatima
good.
Klein is coming from, her training partner. That's one you're going to want to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing is I get to see them. I can scout it, see it, and I can help them develop and really become strong. If you're just a promotion that likes pretty girls or whatever you're looking for, and you're just putting them on these cards to build records, that's great. And it looks great that you can say, oh, I sent them in the UFC. But what you're not doing is helping these kids when they get there. You want them to be solid. You want them to be strong because at the end of the day, that's their career. You've done them a disservice if you're not doing that. So yeah, it's a little tougher over here, but I never throw anyone in the deep end. I match them, or one of my scouts, we work together, a collective, and we match them so that it's a competitive fight, but either athlete has the ability to walk away. It's not like we're sitting there making a highlight reel going, okay, we're waiting for this,
Right.
We match them well. You get matched where you should be. And that's what continues to build growth. And really, that's what builds that foundation for being, confident champions as you go through it.
All right. Shannon Knapp, thank you so much for joining us here on Fighting Words. Really appreciate your insight as always. And
Thank you.
we'll talk to you next time.
It was an honor to talk to you, Shannon. Shannon, do you have anything coming up? Do you have anything down the pipeline?
We do. We haven't announced it yet, but we will be in Boston in September.
Oh, are you coming out to Southern California at all anytime soon?
Well, that is on the books too. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'd
So
love
we'll
to
be
come to an event.
announcing some, new locations, and we're amping it up a little bit coming up. So yeah, it should be fun. We've got our champion, Danny McCormick's going to fight on that Irish card over in Boston, and we may be in Ireland at the first of the year too as well. So yeah, it's expanding and branching out, and hopefully I've got lots of good announcements to share with everybody really soon.
We'll be checking it out. It was an honor to finally talk to you, Shannon. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for including me. I appreciate it.
Take care.